All right, as I promised in a previous movie, I've gone ahead and saved my changes to a separate file so as not to harm the original. So once again, the advantage of Camera Raw filter is that it's convenient. It's located right here in the filter menu. The disadvantage is that it amounts to a destructive modification unless you apply it to a smart object. And because smart objects require some additional overhead, we won't be getting to them until the advanced course. So for now, given what we know, what's the best way to apply Camera Raw non-destructively? Well, I previewed this back in Chapter 1, but it's worth reviewing now with a little bit of experience under our belts. You go up to the File menu and choose Browse and Bridge. Notice that I have Bridge trained on the contents of the 12 Camera Raw subfolder inside the Exercise Files folder. If you have access to this folder, you're going to see lots more images inside of it. I'm just building these images as I go along. Now, if I were to double-click on this original file right here, iPhone landscape.jpg, I'd open it inside Photoshop. If I want to open it inside Camera Raw instead, then I'd right-click inside the image and choose Open in Camera Raw, in which case we will once again see the Camera Raw interface. Now, there's a couple of caveats that are worth mentioning here. One is that we are not running Camera Raw in Photoshop, rather we are running it in Bridge, and that's because Camera Raw is a plugin that can run in various applications. So for example, if I switch back to Photoshop, you'll see that it's just sitting here waiting for our next instruction. And if I switch back to Bridge, then I will see Camera Raw running in its stead. The second thing to note is that we have some additional tools up here in the horizontal toolbar, including a crop tool and a straighten tool, which means that I can go ahead and crop the image before I open it inside Photoshop, which is exactly what I'm going to do. So I'll go ahead and click on the crop tool to make it active, and then I'll drag inside the image window, and I'm going to drag so that the bottom of the crop boundary is just above that little scrub there. Now, notice this time around, when I'm moving the top of the crop boundary up and down, I do not see a height value. Rather, I have to keep an eye on this value down here at the bottom of the screen. Notice that my crop boundary now measures 2,592 pixels wide by 1,369 pixels tall. If I want it to be just a hair bit shorter, then I'm going to have to drag that top edge down a little bit. And now I'll see that it measures 1,366 pixels tall, which is the same measurement that I applied in the previous movie. Now, if I want to apply that crop, all I need to do is switch back to the zoom tool, like so, and Photoshop will preview the crop here on screen. But I stress that the crop has not been applied destructively. If I want to see the entire image once again, all I have to do is switch back to the crop tool, like so, and I can make any modifications I like. Anyway, I'm going to switch back to the zoom tool, and now I'll just enter those exact same settings that we applied in the previous movie. Now that I've applied all of these non-destructive modifications, I have one of two options. I can either click the Open Image button in order to open the modified image inside Photoshop, or if I just want to apply my changes, I can click the Done button, which is what I'm going to do. And that will return me to Bridge as we're seeing right here. And notice now that Bridge has updated my thumbnail, and just to make that more obvious, I'm going to go ahead and enlarge those thumbnails like so. Which might make you figure, well, we just made another destructive modification because these two images look pretty much the same side by side. The difference is that while the permanently modified image has nothing going on in the upper right corner of its thumbnail, the non-destructively modified image has a couple of icons right here. The first one shows that we cropped the image in Camera Raw, and the second one shows that we developed the image in Camera Raw. In other words, we modified a few settings, which tells me that if I were to double-click this thumbnail, this time around it's not going to open inside Photoshop. It's going to instead open inside Camera Raw, now running inside Photoshop. And as you can see, all of my settings remain intact, meaning that I can modify those settings as much as I like. Now, obviously, my new settings are no good, so what I'm going to do instead is click the Cancel button in order to abandon those modifications. And if I want to double-check just to confirm that I didn't do anything wrong, I can go up to the File menu here inside Photoshop, choose Browse and Bridge, and then take note of the thumbnail, which looks just the way it did after I committed my changes. And that's how you develop an image inside Camera Raw non-destructively from Adobe Bridge.